Hi everyone, my name is Dagina Weatherill and I'm the Director of Recruitment within InUni UK Division, a company of global university systems overseeing international students recruitment for a number of our UK partner universities. And today I'm extremely excited to talk about one of our premium partner universities in the UK, beautiful Canterbury Christ Church University. And you can see Canterbury Cathedral in my background as well. I'm also extremely excited to talk about Canterbury Christ Church University Law School. So I'm joined here by colleagues from the university. So we have Dr. Matthew Stubbins, barrister, senior lecturer and director for law, LLB. Dr. Narisa Ramsundar, LLM, course director, principal lecturer. And Dr. Sarah Lieberman, reader in politics and international relations and head of postgraduate studies for the School of Law, Policing and Social Sciences. We also have Richard here, who is International Business Development Manager, joining our webinar today from Canterbury Christ Church University. And we have my colleague Anans from InUni Marketing team helping us to run this webinar. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start. You're all on mute. If you'd like to ask any questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A section. So that's Q&A section rather than chat section, and we will take them at the very end of the webinar. Other than that, sit back and enjoy, and we hope you find this webinar useful and inspiring. A recording will also be provided after the webinar in case if you miss anything. Thank you, and it's over to you, Dr. Matthew.
Thank you. So as Dagina has already said, I'm Dr. Matthew Stubbins and I'm the Director of Law here at Canterbury Christ Church. So very much welcome. And hopefully we look forward to seeing you in the future. So as it states, I am a barrister. I qualified and I have been at Canterbury for 8.5 years. And I'm now head of department. And I work alongside both Narissa and Sarah within our law and politics section. And Narissa, as we'll speak to you later, and is in charge of our LLM provision. So I'm here today to talk about our LLB, so our undergraduate provision. So if we could go to the next slide. So as we can see, we offer a number of programs, a number of courses here at Canterbury Christ Church. So we offer a number of foundation year options. So the foundation year is for those students who don't quite have the requisite qualifications from school or college to go straight on to our degree programs. So these allow students to get ready, to get the skills and to get the fundamental basics that they need in order to thrive on our degree programs. So we offer a straight law foundation year along with a foundation year and our LLB, so that therefore, if you do pass your foundation year, you automatically move on to the LLB. But again, it is very important that you do pass your foundation year. Again, if there's no passing of that, there's no progression. We also offer the foundation year with business and with finance. So again, you can combine your degree with different routes. And then on our actual degree program, on our undergraduate program, again, we offer straight law. And then we also offer a number of law with routes for you. So we have law with business, law with criminology, law with finance, law with forensics, law with history, law with international relations, law with politics, and law with sociology. And so those different routes allow you to explore both the law degree, so you get all the fundamental information that any law degree will provide you, and it will provide you with a qualifying law degree, but it also allows you to gain an experience and a fundamental knowledge of other areas. Because obviously, because the law interacts with all elements of society, therefore having a knowledge of how other elements does work can help you progress in your career. For example, if you do wish to obviously practice law, then a straight law degree would in particular help you. But if you do wish to go and pursue alternative careers, whether within government, within international organizations, within business, then obviously having an understanding of how those international organizations functions is going to be incredibly valuable. So, for example, let's say as a prime example, that you wish to go and work within international organizations, such as the UN, for example, then obviously law with politics would help you greatly so that you can understand the actual machinations of what goes on within the institution, not just what legally should be happening within them. So again, we offer the opportunity for you to pursue the degree and hopefully in the end, the career that you wish to pursue. So can we move on to the next? So within our LLB courses, so these are the modules that you will all study, irrespective of whether you do a straight degree or you study a law with degree. So these are the core modules that every law student, irrespective of their route, will be studying. So in your first year, you would gain, first of all, an understanding of the English legal systems. So you'd understand the court hierarchy. You'd understand how criminal trials work, and so the roles that juries play within the system. And you'd learn how the doctrine of precedent works. So how courts make decisions, how judges make decisions, and how those decisions change over time. We also have in your first semester, you also have an introduction to obligations. So this is where we introduce you to all those modules and all those areas of the law where people owe obligations to one another. So this is areas such as contract law. So obviously the buying and selling of goods and of services, which is obviously key to making the world go round. And we also see the law of torts. So the law of torts is where the law imposes obligations on individuals when there isn't a contractual obligation. For example, if you're walking down the street, if you are engaging in all sorts of activities, if you're driving, for example, then obviously we need to impose obligations upon you to keep everyone safe. And the torts also incorporates things such as trespass, defective goods, whole area, nuisance, all those different areas where people interact with one another and cause damage or can cause problems for other people. So that's your first semester. It gives you a fundamental foundation to the degree, and then gives you that core knowledge to then and skills to then allow you to go and thrive later within your degree. And then within the second semester, we move on to the more substantive element, so the more doctrinal elements of the law, where we move on to contract law and onto criminal law, which obviously for many students is the thing that fascinates the most about the law. Then in your second year, you move on and look at constitutional and administrative law in Public Law 1 and Public Law 2 modules. So the constitutional law obviously looks at how Parliament functions, the role that the courts have with Parliament, the role that we have in, and then administrative law moves on and seeks how do we keep the government in check? How do we make sure the government isn't doing things that it shouldn't be doing? And so you study that across all of the first year, across all of the second year. And then you move on to land law, which is where we look at the relationship between individuals over the ownership of land, over what we can do over land, what we can't do over land, and how we purchase land. And given that I teach the module, obviously it is the best module. Although some people might disagree, but then again, they are wrong. And then obviously we see the law of torts. So we go into what you've looked at in obligations in much greater detail. And then the third year, and this is where all students tend to have the greatest number of options available to them. We first of all have the law of the European Union. So although Brexit has occurred and the UK has left the European Union, because of the sheer amount of European Union law that is still applicable in the UK, and because it is still the UK is still formed and shaped by European Union law, we still need to understand how it operates. And moreover, because the European Union still remains our biggest trading partner, we still need to understand how this very, very unique system and cooperation between countries operates. And then finally, we also look at equity and trust, which given that I teach that as well, is also the greatest module you'll ever study. And so equity and trust tries to work out, again, who owns what property? How do we impose obligations over property? How do we separate that ownership out to give people the benefit over property without the obligations to actually manage it? How do we make sure that we get property when it's been stolen back? How do we impose all these obligations over people who have control of our property or who potentially come across our property? So again, so what we therefore see is these core modules, they give you the legal foundation that is necessary in order to go into any area of the law if you choose to practice it. And again, so these cover all what is called the 7 FLK modules, the Foundation of Legal Knowledge modules that all law students in England must study. So therefore, these are the modules that are core and that are foundational to you all. So can we move on? So this is how our course is structured for those who are only doing the LLB. These are the only ones who are doing straight law, so not with any other subjects. So in addition to those core modules I've just spoken about, we also see that we have 2 additional modules in the first year. So in each year, you'll study 6 modules, 3 in each semester. So in the first semester, you'll also study law in society. And so this module tries to put the law in its wider context. So it tries to understand how the law operates in relation to individuals, how the law is shaped by individuals, and how the law shapes individuals as well. It tries to show you the impact that it has. Because when we look at doctrinal modules, such as equity, such as land, such as criminal law, we can get very narrowly focused on merely what the law is, not necessarily the impact that the law has. So we try and put that focus, that wider context to you as early as possible to then allow you to see and experience that on by yourself. And obviously we'll guide you of seeing the wider contextual impact that the law has within society. And then also within our first year, in the second semester, you will also study dispute resolution. So this is how people try and resolve disputes without going to court. Now, obviously going to court is very, very expensive and is very time consuming. And so dispute resolution can allow parties to resolve their disputes in a much cheaper, in a quicker, more efficient manner, and also allow them to get a remedy and a resolution that isn't available via the court. So you can get an apology that way. You can get all sorts of things agreed to you. Then in the second year, in addition to the 4 core modules, you will also have 2 option modules, 1 in each semester. So these option modules, which we'll look at in a moment, will allow you to then move your degree in the area that you want to take it. So it will allow you to focus it. And then in the third year, you will have 4 option modules. So you'll have a choice of 4 different modules to choose from to, again, really focus your degree and to look at the areas that in particular interest you. Because obviously each student is going to have their own particular set of interests, and we want to give effect to your interests. So can we move on to the next one? So for our law with students, so those who do have a different subject that they're studying alongside their law degree, in the first year, you will have your two with modules. So these will be the modules that you have to give you an initial flavor and to give you a foundation in your other subject. And then the same is true in the second year. So in the second year, rather than having any option modules, you have your with modules. And then in the third year, you have your 2 option modules and your 2 with modules. So that therefore you have both the ability to flavor the legal element of your degree to your preferred interests, and also make sure you still have that fundamental knowledge and that fundamental basis in your other subjects that you have wished to pursue, which you have pursued. So can we move on to the next one? So this is the overview of how our programs. So again, our LLB modules and our LLB programs. So that sets out what I've just spoken about. And on the right-hand side, we see under the electives, the different module choices that are available to you. So again, the way that you can specialize and you can give a particular flavor to your degree. So we see that you can study civil and commercial mediation, which builds upon dispute resolutions. And so that gives you a more practical rather than a theoretical knowledge of how we can try and resolve disputes, particularly in a commercial setting. We've also got corporate law, which looks at how companies function, about the rules and regulations about what companies and directors can do and what happens when they end. We've also got commercial law, which is how we try and enact contracts between parties, how we move goods between parties, who owns what, who has to take the risk of what is happening, what agents can do on behalf of yourself. We have mooting and opinion writing and mooting and advocacy skills, which gives you the practical skills that barristers and all lawyers need. So it allows you to know how to write an opinion. So a piece of advice from a barrister to a solicitor about the chances and the liability that their clients face. And also the oral arguments, the public speaking skills that all lawyers need. We have international law, which is taken by Narissa, my colleague, who's on this call as well. So she'll talk about that in slightly more detail because she has much more knowledge about that than I do. And we also got race in the law, which looks at, again, particularly similar to Law and Society, about how race has affected the law, how law has affected race, and the inequalities that come from those different types of relationships. In the level 6, so again, so from those modules I've just spoken about, you will have a choice of 2. And then at level 6, you will be able to study employment law. So again, the relationship, the rights that you have as employees in the United Kingdom. We've got international justice and human rights, which again looks at the international order and international law from that perspective of human rights and how do we achieve justice in the international sphere, which can be quite difficult given how the world currently works. We've also got our individual study modules. So we have individual study 1, which is a long dissertation that goes over both semesters. So that goes for the entire year. And we have individual study 2, which allows you to write a smaller dissertation in a semester. So again, you'll have half the word limit. Then you'll be looking at it in half the time. We also have internet law and society, which tries to look at how the law and modern technology interact with each other. As I'm sure we're all aware, that AI is a thing that we are all aware of that is affecting many industries. And so that module seeks to look at the impact that has and the role that it plays. We've also got family law, which again regulates the family. So what rights do children have? What rights do parents have to their children? What happens if you get divorced? We've also got intellectual property, which looks at those intangible things that humans create, books, music, software, all of those types of things. So obviously there is a direct relationship between intellectual property and internet law and society. We also have medical law, women in crime, which looks very much like race in the law, to the role that women have within the legal system and the justice system. So the disparities that exist there, the types of crime that particularly affect women, and the role that women have within the law as well. And then finally, we have comparative criminal law, which again is another module taken by my colleague Narissa, which again tries to compare the different criminal law regimes that we have around the globe, or particular jurisdictions, sorry, it's not quite, yes. So then if we move on to the next slide. So yes, so if you do come to Christ Church, then you'll be assigned a personal academic tutor, a personal tutor. So these is where you are given a particular personal tutor within the member of the law team, and you will meet with them once a semester, or at least every 6 weeks. And they will allow, that is an opportunity for you to raise any issues that you have. So if you're not particularly understanding a particular module, then your personal tutor can put you in contact with the right person to discuss that. They will also help you if you've got any personal circumstances that are particularly problematic. For example, illness, any bereavements, we can put things in place to extend your deadlines if necessary. So your personal tutor is the person that you go to if you are experiencing any particular issues, and they will be the ones who will try and seek to help you with those. Given that you will be an international student, therefore, because of the UK government requirements, you must again meet with your personal academic tutor in order to comply with the visa regulations. This is again something that is imposed by the UK government. But again, it is, as it says on the slide, it is an opportunity for us to give you the support that you do need. So then can we move on to the next one? And so our teaching is based upon the basis of what is called blended learning. So this means you will have both a lecture and a seminar. So this means that you will have the lecture, which will give you the substantive content, give you the knowledge that you need. And then in the seminar, we will seek to discuss that knowledge, to find out your views and to discuss your views, and then put that in a practical context to try and make sure that we are looking at how we can apply that law to certain scenarios. So again, they're very much the traditional teaching system, teaching techniques that law has always utilized. Again, there will be some online teaching when absolutely necessary, but again, the vast majority of our teaching is in person, which is the best experience for us because that is the best way that we have found to be able to teach you, to engage with you, and to get our ideas across, and for you to get your ideas across to us as well. Online teaching, if it does occur, will be via Blackboard, which is our online virtual learning environment, which is where all the course materials will be given to you, all lecture slides, seminar questions, additional materials, your assessments, that's where you will submit it. So it's all in one place for you. And if you do come to us, then we timetable things to make sure that for each module, your lecture and seminar are on the same day. This is to make sure that you don't have to come onto campus as much as possible, and that it's as much as an efficient use of your time as is possible. In the third year, you might have 2 modules per day due to the nature of the modules. But for most of your first and second years, you will have 1 module per day to allow you to focus on that module wholeheartedly. And again, if necessary, because we are very open and we want to help you the best that we can, you can schedule a meeting with your module leader or your seminar tutor where necessary to go through the content if you are having any struggles or any problems with the content. Can we move on to the next one? So that's the law school itself. So that's what we provide. But obviously we have interactions with the Central University, and obviously you will be interacting with the Central University on a regular basis. So obviously we are directly integrated into the graduate college, which is to do with our PhD provision, to do with our LLM provision. And obviously that is on our basis, primarily through Narissa, my colleague who's here as well. And obviously that means that if you do choose to do so, it is very easy for you to move from our LLB program to our LLM program. So it's therefore basically a seamless process. We also give you opportunities to present at conferences, to have access to the careers and development team, who, again, will be able to talk to you in much more detail about those things. We also have the student wellbeing team, who can help you if you do have any physical or mental health issues, or you are struggling financially. We obviously also have an active student union, who was an opportunity to become a member and to take parts in societies such as the Rugby Society, all sorts of societies we have. And obviously, we also have the sport and active health team with a range of sport and fitness opportunities. If we can move on to the next one. So this is a picture of our library. So this is just a few minutes from our main campus. And so it was built quite recently. And so this is where all the resources that you need will have. There is some teaching that is done in the library as well, in its lecture theatre. but it has a cafe on the ground floor. It has all the computer and text requirements we have. And we also have a dedicated law librarian, currently Lawrence Dean, who will be able to help you if you have any issues finding text or finding resources in the library. We move on to the next one. So then we've got living in Canterbury itself. So as you can see, Degina had the cathedral at the back of her background. And as we can see here, so here we have our main campus. So there we have our chapel. And then and as you can see, the cathedral is incredibly close. It's what, 2 to 3 minutes from the campus. And so we're incredibly close to the city centre. As you can see, the cathedral is right in the back. Canterbury is obviously one of the oldest cities we have in England. It is very old, it's very beautiful, and it's very historic. It is one of the safest cities we have in the UK. We can get to London incredibly quickly. We can get to London in 56 minutes, as both me and Narissa know on a regular basis, via HS1 to both Stratford International and to St Pancras. You can also get to the coast very easily. So you can get to Margate, Whitstable, the Kent coast very quickly. And obviously, due to the cathedral, due to the ancient nature of Canterbury, it is also a UNESCO World Heritage City. So it is one of the most historically important cities in the world. And obviously, we're very grateful to be able to be in Canterbury to teach in such a surroundings. So if you move on to the next slide. So yes, so so this is where I end. So as I tried to point out, that it will be an incredibly supportive learning environment. We will give you the help and support that you need. That we also want to obviously challenge you to research, to think critically, and to present yourself in the best way possible, whether that be oral, whether that be written, whether that be via other modern means as well. And you can. Our plan, our design of our programs is to try and make sure that you come out with the degree, that you have focused on the areas where you want to focus, that we're not making you do beyond what we have to. We're not making you do modules. We're not making you look at topics that you aren't interested in. So I think that's all from me. And obviously, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have later. So then I think it's over to Narissa. I think you're on mute still, Narissa.
Well, hello, everyone. So as Matthew would have introduced, I'm the course director for the Masters of Law program. And the Masters of Law program that we are currently running is International Business and Law. So that is if you are interested. So you have 2 career routes with this. If you are interested in working in an international organization such as the UN, the World Health Organization, the IMF, any of these large organizations, this is a good foundation for you to set up your expertise in terms of understanding the areas of law that will be most relevant in that regulatory system. But most of our international students often come and study with us, and then they go back to their home countries to take up leading roles in governments and in also think tanks in their own countries. So a lot of what we are doing is skilling you up for these kinds of roles, which are very competitive roles. So we try to give you not just the subject expertise, but we try to give you the skills that will enhance your career prospects with this additional postgraduate element to your toolkit as a student. Next slide. So we are integrated into a bigger team, and you are meeting just a few of us, Matthew and myself, because we are both the course directors on the particular programs. Matthew handles the bachelor's program and I handle the master's program. But as you see from this slide, we have a very diverse and interesting range of staff. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now most of you will be interested to understand what is the content of the Masters of Law. So the title of the program is International Business and Law, and we are trying to engage you to prepare to be either a business specialist or a lawyer in preparation for those roles in this particular area. So we focus very heavily on your ability to problem solve and give good advice. I want you to just visualize yourself as a practitioner. People come to you with problems, and it could be an individual problem, but if you are working within the field of international law, it could be a state problem, it could be an organizational problem. And your job is to understand that problem and advise the party to whom you are representing to a solution that could work. This is not a skill that you would learn overnight. So what we are doing is that we are working with you, and our teaching and learning design is to help you problem solve, to identify and apply the law, and to also see the weaknesses of your own case. So that when you are advising your client, whether it is an individual, whether it is a state, whether it is an international organization, you are going to give accurate advice. So the goal of our program is to help reach inside your mind, to help you with those steps of reasoning that will enable you to be someone that the people who are hiring can trust and can rely on. Next slide, please. So we have divided the program into 3 chunks over the course of a year, and you have core modules and you also have optional modules. In your first trimester, which roughly runs from September to the end of January, you are introduced into 2 business modules that are run by the business school, and this helps set you into the context in which international business operates. Because many of you may be joining us from your own universities in your home country, you may not be accustomed to reading, researching, and writing within the United Kingdom and with the discipline of research as it is applied here. So what we do is that we have a core non-optional module called Advanced Legal Research Methods, where we go from ground zero and we build you up. You learn how to research, you learn the major schools of research, and you learn what are the skills in order for you to produce that research in a sophisticated way. Next slide. In your second trimester, you get a good overview of the international legal system, which is an independent legal system that connects with domestic systems in different ways in the public international law module. And we also focus in that module upon key topics that are coming up in the international arena within that particular year. So that, for instance, in this year, we are looking as well on issues of use of force and armed conflict because of the scale of warfare that is going on the international scene. So this module has a very interesting flavor in that it has all of the core elements that you will need to know, but we respond to what is going on in the universe. And I say universe, but I mean we'll leave the universe to Sarah because she's space. She'll speak more about that. But on this side of the universe, we focus on what's going on in that module. And then we have a wonderful module called Current Legal Issues in International Business, which will blow your mind because it is taught by every single member of the law team. We are each experts in individual areas, and each of these individual areas will impact an international legal practice. For instance, Matthew is an equity and a land lawyer. You will be surprised that there are issues there that are impacted in international law, and he will do a class there. You can hear from colleagues who will talk about corporate manslaughter, talk about AI, so on and so forth. So it is a mind-blowing experience. If this is where you want to go with your life, I trust you're not going to lose out. You can then choose to take one optional module from these 3 things: investment treaty arbitration, AI governance, law and policy, and human rights. If you want to practice in an international human rights court, of course, human rights is where you want to go, and international criminal court, human rights is where you want to go. We have AI governance, and we are probably one of the few universities who can offer this module. The lady who is teaching it is an AI expert, and she's one of those strange creatures in that she's both a lawyer and a scientist at the same time. So what you are given in that module is that you will be on the cutting edge of understanding how AI governance works, and you can directly unpack what you are being taught to advise and create prototypes. Of course, in the necessary environment, when you go to work, you will have an extremely good foundation. Many of you also may be going back to your home country, and you may work with your ministries and so on and so forth. A lot of you here from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Nigeria, and your governments are involved in private international law agreements. That is treaties with other states in order to bring investors into your state. You are all part of very large growing economies. So something like investment treaty arbitration enables you to understand how those treaties work, but it is also very practice-led in that you are involved in mock arbitrations, you are involved in mock scenarios. It's the same thing with my module, Public International Law. You are examined via a simulated trial before the International Court of Justice. So what we are doing is that we are teaching you, and we are creating a range of assessments that allow you to evidence practice skills. And the thing is, when you are a lawyer or an international business specialist, your practice skills are very led by the amount of information in your head. So we are putting that information via very vibrant teaching, but we are also then examining you in multiple ways. The traditional essay, the traditional research paper, but then we go a little bit further. You do a mock trial, you do a mock arbitration. This helps your confidence. This gives you a voice. And this makes sure that when you leave us, you go in the best possible way you can be to seek your dreams, to get that job that you are looking for. Next slide. Lastly, you do a dissertation, which is a long piece of writing. I would recommend that you always do a dissertation along the area that you are going to work and practice in. This allows you to really demonstrate that you can research, that you can write. And that is what we want you to leave our university with: empowered. Knowledge is power. Thinking is power. And that is what our master's program is doing for you. It is empowering you. Next slide. We are empowering you not just in the way that we teach and in the education, but because we are very unique here in Canterbury. All universities care, but I promise you, the team that we have here at Canterbury, you are not a name on a sheet of paper. You are not a fly on the wall. We will look at you in that bespoke way that Matthew spoke about to see what your individual needs are and to help you get to your personal best. The aim is for you to leave with an LLM, International Business and Law. If you do not pass all of your modules, there are alternative exit awards that you can leave with. But I urge you at this stage, anything is possible. You can dream anything that you want to do. You just put the steps in place and put the hard work in place, and we will do that with you so that you can walk off with that LLM behind your name. Next slide. Next slide. So on that wonderful note, I will pass you over to my colleague now, Dr. Sarah Lieberman, who will speak about another program. And we are here, and we want you to come with us. So handing over to Sarah now, and who could say no to the smiling face? So handing over to Sarah now.
Hello. Hi there. I can't see myself on the screen, but I'm going to have to assume that you can. I don't know about you, but I certainly now want to do a law degree after hearing from Matthew and from Narissa. So I'm going to have a hard time definitely, persuading you away from that, because I have to say that sounds absolutely fantastic. Next slide, please. So my name is Dr. Sarah Lieberman, and I'm a senior lecturer and reader in Politics and International Relations at Canterbury Christ Church University. Next slide, please. My main role is to lead the master's program that we have at Canterbury Christ Church in Politics and International Relations. I lead a master's program called Security and International Relations. And I'm going to tell you a bit about that today, and also some of the other courses that we run and the undergrad courses that we run as well. So first of all, some people are put off by this term security, and I want to reassure you that security doesn't just mean war and military, okay? We're not just looking at tanks, airplanes, aircraft carriers. We're not looking just at the military side of security. Security has a lot more to offer than you might think. So we look at state security, we look at border security, we look at the way that states defend themselves and defend the societies and individuals who live within the state. We also look at the individual security of people within the state, not just, you know, how people might conduct self-defense. We don't just look at things like that. Can we go back a slide, please? We look at individual security, we look at food security, how safe people feel, health security, welfare. What the state decides to spend on the individual is what we term security. We also look at environmental security, gender security, race security, anything that you can think of that you would term security, we look at in this master's program to ensure that we cover all aspects of security, not just the state and military security side, which we do go into, of course, as well, because that is an aspect that really interests me. We go on to the next slide now, please. So the modules that we actually do here in this master's in security and international relations, well, you would do 6 modules, that's 6 different topics, and a 12,000 word dissertation. Now, we have 2 theoretical modules. Some people are worried about this idea of theory, but what they really are is just making sure that you look at things critically. So the first one is called critical issues, and we look at things that are in the news. So this year, you know, of course, we've looked very carefully at what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Ukraine, Russia. We've also looked at counterterrorism, domestic violence, violence against women, environmental justice, and environmental security. So those are the issues that we covered in critical issues. And people are just asked to look at that with a critically clear mind so that you can conduct the best arguments you possibly can. Someone doesn't agree with you, they will do after you've done this master's. You will be able to argue your point persuasively and clearly. And that is exactly what prospective employers are looking for. They are looking for someone who can critically analyze topics and can put their arguments clearly. We look at research methods so that you can know how to write those things down. We then also have 2 specialised modules on security. In the first semester, you do contemporary security. That's called Contemporary Security Theory and Practice, looking at issues from around the world and how we might analyse them. And then in the second semester, digital security. So you'll be looking again, as Narissa mentioned, we look at new technologies, we look at AI, we look at the future of warfare, we look at outer space. Now that's my favourite topic, looking at the politics, the regulation and the security of outer space and how we use it. We'll then do 2 very specialised modules on international relations, one on human rights and one called Advanced Principles in International Relations. Now, it's an interdisciplinary course altogether. You have practitioner and stakeholder input, especially in digital security, advanced principles in international relations and critical issues. In research methods, you'll do some legal research methods, political science research methods, and so cover a whole breadth of different sorts of researching in academia. Next slide, please. This is how it is set out. Now, the teaching for the master's course will be held on 2 days each. So each semester, you will have 3 modules, but we will make sure that they're condensed into 2 days so you would be able to commute from elsewhere. We have a lot of students at the moment. I think more than half of our students currently live in London and commute to Canterbury for the lectures. And that is something that they would prefer to do so that they're living in a big city and can enjoy everything that provides. So we do teaching on 2 days a week. You will have your lecture and your seminars on the same day. We would do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and the following day, perhaps, or another day that week, one in the morning and an afternoon where you have the time to go to the library, to speak to your personal tutor, or to discuss anything with lecturers, and also to catch up with your classmates. We found this year especially, we have a lot of students who've come from Pakistan, a lot of students from Bangladesh, several students from India, from Ukraine, from where else? We have a lot of international students, and they have found a lovely community on campus. So they enjoy that time that they have on campus together. A student told me this week that he felt like it was a family away from home. Next slide, please. So I also want to tell you a little bit about our undergraduate study, because I hear that is something that many of you are also interested in. Next slide, please. So we offer undergraduate courses, a Bachelor in Science, BSc, in Politics and International Relations. Now, this is a 3-year course, and from next year onwards, we will have 30 credit modules, which means that you would do 4 modules per academic year, 2 in the first semester and 2 in the second semester. So that would be 2 before the Christmas holidays and 2 after. We have modules each year in political thought and philosophy, international relations, comparative politics and global governance, and security, and some other specialised modules as you go along. Next slide, please. Now, everything that you have just heard from the law side is equally applicable to our politics and international relations degrees. You will have a personal tutor assigned from the start of the course, university-wide support structures. There's an international office that you can always go to for help, student welfare office that you can go to if you're experiencing any problems at all. We are very, very keen to make you feel at home. We are small courses, we offer small programs, and we get to know all our students individually and personally. So you really do have that more personal touch. Next slide, please. So why would you choose Canterbury Christ Church University? Well, certainly in politics, as in law, we have active research staff, which means that we're all researching, we're all publishing, and we're able to tell you about those subjects with passion and enthusiasm, which means, for instance, you would have from me new and up-to-date discussions on outer space politics, on the regulation of outer space, on the security of outer space. And I will bring that into all the lectures that I do, as all the lecturers will do. They will bring in the topics that they are most interested in, be that gender, environment, social movements, hybrid security, human rights. My staff are absolutely at the top of their research specific areas. Next slide, please. We publish books. These are some of the books that our staff have published. That one, European Space Policy, that's my one. Just a little bit of advertising there. But seriously, these are all things that we actually do. We are teachers, but we're also researchers. And because of that, you get the best research-informed teaching. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about where the university is. I know people are interested in that. So some pictures here that show you exactly where we are. You can see we're very close to London. We're also very close to France, if you happen to want to go over to Europe for any reason. And if you look down at the bottom left there, you can see a very small picture. Sorry, that has come up incredibly small, showing the transport links to and from London. We are near London. We are about 50 minutes from St Pancras Station in Canterbury. It's a very good high-speed link. And you can get to airports in London really easily. The campus itself is set in the centre of Canterbury, which means you can easily get to the station, you can easily get to town, and easily get to all the good things that are in the centre of Canterbury. It's a really pretty city with some lovely cafes and restaurants. Next slide, please. So we're close enough to London that you can visit. In fact, we're close enough to London that a lot of students and a lot of staff, including Narissa and Matthew, who you've both just heard from, they all commute from London. So it's easy to do. We're close to transport links. but we're also in the heart of Kent. So I'm not suggesting that you should live in London. I live in Kent itself. We have countryside, seaside, towns, villages, World Heritage Centres. It's historical, it's beautiful, and you get to do your graduation in the cathedral, in this beautiful building you can see in the photo in front of you. Next slide, please. We are a good university. We're a small university, but because we're small, we're a responsive team. We have good employment record, and we know you as individuals. We like to get to know our students personally so we can offer you the absolute best that we possibly can. Now, that doesn't mean we'll constantly be breathing down your necks. You can have as much freedom as you like as well. So some students I will see once a week for a meeting. Other students I see when they start, and I see them in lectures, and that's it. So we offer you as much contact with us as you want. You can also do a dissertation entirely tailored around your own interests. Obviously, for my course, for the masters, it would need to be on security or international relations. But within those topics, there's a lot you can do. We also offer a master's in counter-terrorism that might be something that interests you, with many of the same modules that you would do on security and international relations, but focusing those specialist modules on terrorism, policing, and counter-terrorism strategies, which is a subject that is currently really important. Next slide, please. Well, as the law team have already told you, so I won't spend a long time on this. We have a very safe city. We've spent a lot at Canterbury Christ Church on new buildings, on a lovely library that is really well equipped. And these things are things that you can definitely benefit from while you would be at Canterbury Christ Church University. Next slide, please. So please do connect with us. You can follow us on Twitter, which is now X, obviously. We have a blog. We can also be contacted by email. So please do get in touch if you've got any further questions. And I would love to see some of you in September, either as an undergraduate student or a postgraduate student. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Sarah. My turn to talk now, and thank you very much. So just a reminder that Canterbury Christ Church University, we're first in the UK for employability, for finding our graduates work. And employability really is embedded across our curricula and across our courses at Canterbury Christ Church. Next slide, please. Also, I wanted to briefly tell you all about our pre-sessional English courses. So our pre-sessional courses in academic English skills. Next slide, please. Our pre-sessional courses run throughout the summer before you start your chosen programme of study. And there are two lengths of course. We have a 10-week course and a 6-week course. And the pre-sessional courses are designed to give you a soft landing into higher education in the UK. We also offer our pre-sessional courses online to give you maximum flexibility. Next slide, please. These are the entry requirements for our pre-sessional courses. For the 10-week course, a 5.0 overall in IELTS. And for the 6-week pre-sessional course, it's a 5.5 overall in IELTS. And for more information about our English language requirements, you can check our website. I think, Ananth, that's the end of our presentation today. Regina, I'll hand back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you to Matthew, Sarah, and Arisa for a passionate presentation about City Law School. Really, really useful information. And I'm sure our attendees found it quite inspiring too. And thank you, Richard, for highlighting pre-sessional English programs also. Just before I jump into questions, a reminder that if you are our educational agency partner, please submit your applications via GAS Gateway. If you haven't done so yet, the portal is open. We do accept applications currently for, small cohort for June intake for MBA, but for everything else, all programs are available for September 2024 via GAS Gateway. If you have already submitted application and received conditional offer letter, please submit outstanding documents and arrange a consultation session with my team at the soonest. If you need any help with preparing your students perhaps for consultation or any further question, the team on the ground would be happy to support. A reminder that the international scholarship is still available. It's 1,500 for September 2024. You don't need to submit a separate application for that. It will be automatically awarded and stipulated within your offer letter as well. Other than that, I think we've covered everything. Let's just see what questions we have received. Okay, will students get a chance to choose a specialization? I think that came through during your session, Matthew. You're on mute, sorry.
So as I said, again, because of the way in which we structure our course, that because you get to choose your options in the second and third year, you can go down the route that you wish to go down. So you can go down a corporate route, you can go down an international route, you can go down a domestic route. Again, you don't come out with, no one really offers a law degree in undergraduate level in business law or anything such as that, because you have to study the whole range of it, and students go into a degree not knowing what area necessarily they're going to go into in the end. I went into it thinking I was going to study one area, and I came out as a property lawyer. Whether or not I made the right decision is a different matter. And so you simply don't know. It's when you get to master's levels, such as what Narissa was talking about, that you get that direct specialization. But again, you can choose, you specialize your degree by choosing the modules you want.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anything you would like to add on that, Dr. Narissa, perhaps?
Yes, of course. So remember, here in the United Kingdom, we are regulated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority. So you are getting not just any degree, you are getting a degree that is regulated by a regulatory body. So you have to do a qualifying law degree, which is like a general law degree. You can't really specialize in law unless you know the basics. You need to know how to write a contract. You need to know what the principles of criminal law are. So that is why Matthew was saying in your second and third year, you could actually pick the things that you foresee you wanting to do in your career. As Matthew said, it doesn't always work out that I had picked all the corporate courses thinking I'm going to be a corporate lawyer. I ended up practicing 10 years as a criminal lawyer. And then I decided I'm bored. And now I'm an international lawyer. So your world is your oyster. You can do what you wish, but you just have to put a little work into it. That's all. Just a little work. And work never killed anybody. So I encourage it strongly.
Excellent. Yeah, as I say, no pain, no gain. So you need to put extra effort. Thank you. All right. Do students get to experience pro bono cases?
Oh, yes. That is probably something Matthew and I should have discussed. Now, we have something called the CLOCK program here, and that's run by our colleague, Mr. Ben Waters, who's currently in Canada doing some work on mediation over there. But it's essentially you are a civil litigation companion. There are people in this country who cannot afford representation, so you work with you have a solicitor on the team, but it's a lot of pro bono advice that is being given there, and so you do have that opportunity. There are also opportunities here in Canterbury to work in citizens advice units as well too.
Perfect, thank you. The next question we have here, what is the difference between a lawyer and a barrister in the UK system?
I could take that first and then I could pass it to Matthew, because I am an attorney at law because I trained in Trinidad and Tobago, and an attorney at law is trained to do both instruction work and advocacy work. In many countries like I don't know how it operates in India, but I know it may operate like that in some jurisdictions where you are an attorney at law. But the reality is you still take a path. So for instance, some of my colleagues went into the instruction route, and that lines up with the solicitor. And myself, I was a prosecutor, so that lines up with the barrister route. That is where, so you have different skills. Now, in this country, they have taken the pretense out of it. You choose if you want to do instruction, or you choose if you want to do advocacy. So when you are a barrister, you are focusing on that level of skills, how to lead evidence, how to cross-examine, how to prepare an opinion. If you are focusing on the solicitor route, you are working through procedure. A solicitor is stable income because you are working with a firm and you are working with clients in a firm. A barrister is self-employed. You generate your own work like an entrepreneur. So it's two different skills. So a barrister is a lawyer. It's just that in this country, you have to choose the path that you want to take. Matthew, anything to add there?
Yes, so as Narissa said, obviously many jurisdictions have now combined those professions into just a single attorney, a single lawyer, whatever they choose to call it. Whereas in the UK, we still do maintain that distinction, A, for clarity, so that you know who you're dealing with and who's doing what, and also to make sure that you've got the best training possible. So the training that's necessary to become a barrister is very different to what you need to become for a solicitor. So many things that solicitors do, I trained as a barrister, that I can't do. I don't draft documents. I don't draft wills. I don't draft deeds, but I know how to interpret them. So I argue what they mean. I don't do the drafting of them. That's someone else. So I come in and tell them what they put on paper, what that means, whereas someone else then goes and drafts it. So it's different skills. And so in the UK, that again, why the UK is the second biggest legal market after the US, and why many people come over here to use the English courts, to use English lawyers, is because we have that specialization, because we know what we're doing. We're not trying to, as the term might be, a jack of all trades. If you go and get a KC, if you go and get a King's Counsel, a senior barrister who's been doing it for 10, 15 years, you know what you're getting. You know you're getting the A star in terms of lawyers around the world. And so again, it's just to, in the UK, it's just to clarify those positions, and you know exactly what you're getting.
Perfect, thank you. There was also a question in regards with class sizes. I know, Dr. Sarah, you mentioned it's a small class size normally, but would you like to elaborate on this a little bit further?
Yes, our master's class, obviously it depends on each given year, but the master's this year we have in security and international relations around 20 students. Now of those 20 students, I think 15 are international students, so there's a really good international community there. At the undergraduate level, we have normally in first year about 35, 40 students going into first year every year. Now, that doesn't mean that you will have that number of students in all your classes, because sometimes if you're doing a more specialized class, so in second year and third year of undergraduate, or during your master's, if you pick one of the specialized classes, you could be in a class with 10 people, for instance. So we get to know each other, really well. For instance, my second year class at the moment, there should be about 15 in my class. It was raining this week and my class is on a Monday morning. So I only had 6 people there and we had a fantastic discussion. We caught up on everything. So it's small groups that we tend to work with. For the master's program, the maximum that we can take is about 40. So we would never be in a situation where you were lost in a huge lecture theatre. We are going to aim to keep that as a smallish master's program. Sometimes we'll combine to do some of the classes with law. We do some of the classes with counter-terrorism, for instance, and we do some with sociology or criminology. If there's an overlap where we feel that the students would benefit from the expertise of a visiting lecturer, for instance, or would benefit just from spending time with those students, for instance, on Narissa's International Law and Business program. So sometimes we bring the students together, give them a chance to spend time with a larger cohort of students, but in general, it's nice and small.
That's great, thank you. And that means obviously it's in a way easier to establish friendships, but also you receive enough attention from tutors too. So yes, that's great.
Absolutely.
Is it similar for you, Dr. Narisa?
Oh yeah,
Well,
definitely. It's definitely the same for us as well too. This year we had a class of 22, so we do have that bespoke feel that Sarah is talking about, and it's just a nice environment. You'll feel very comfortable, and even in a bigger class, we have that bespoke feel. So that's something very unique that we offer here.
That's brilliant. And I would assume it's similar, Dr. Matthew, for LLB?
So our classes are slightly bigger on the undergraduate courses because we have more students. So again, you have your lecture where you might have up to 100 and 120 in it, but then in your seminars, there will be a maximum of 20 to 25 in them.
Perfect.
So again,
That's
it's
great.
bigger classes, but they're still small enough in which you can have a discussion, in which you can still have that group mentality as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And the next question here we have, what is the workload for undergraduate and postgraduate students? How many days do they need to be on campus? I remember, Dr. Sarah, you mentioned that for postgrad, it's 2 days a week.
Yes, we used to spread the modules more across the week because we felt that that led to a better community feeling. But based on feedback from students, we have we try to get all the teaching done now on 2 days. So that means that students only need to come onto campus twice in a week. Now that means the home students who are working can work for the rest of the week. International students may need to do extra study, or many do travel from London. We know that quite a lot of our international students who come to the UK will live in London and travel into Canterbury, and that's absolutely fine. But based on feedback from students, we've made that into 2 days a week on campus. Now, that doesn't reduce the amount of work that you've got to do, but what we do have now is most of our library catalogue is available online. So you don't need to be on campus to access all the wonderful things that our library can offer. We have a lot of digital databases. Our journals are all available online. A lot of the readings that I provide are also available online. We have ebooks as well as physical copy books. Of course, you can come onto campus whenever you like and go to the library and speak to lecturers. We're always there, but you don't necessarily need to be there every day of the week if you don't want to be. We would expect to have, for each module, we have, I think, between 33 and 40 hours of contact time per module, but then we would expect for a module of learning to have 200 hours of learning. So if you have 40 hours in the classroom, there's still maybe 160 hours that you need to be reading, that you need to be engaging with the topic, you know, and that could mean discussing it with your classmates, doing the reading that I've set, doing other reading that you find interesting, writing the essays, etc. But that's the commitment that you make for a master's.
Perfect, thank you. And is it the same for undergraduate, or is it slightly different?
The undergraduate course is the same. It's not quite such hard work, but then obviously you're at a lower level, so you might find it, you know, the same. So yes, we would expect students to be doing a lot of reading outside of the classroom, but at undergraduate we'd be a little bit more, I spoon feed you a little bit more in terms of what we give you to read, how we tell you to read it, maybe give you the questions rather than asking you to formulate them yourselves. The timetable has not yet been 100% set for the undergraduates for next year. And so I can't promise at the moment. I don't want to make any promises about which days you would be in. I've already fixed the timetable for the masters, so I can 100% say you'll only be in 2 days a week. The undergraduate, yes, that is the aim. Again, we want our students to be able to commute. We want our students to be able to work if they need to, but I wouldn't like to make any promises right now about the number. It's unlikely to be more than 2 though, because we're moving to 30 credit modules and you'll only be studying 2 modules a semester.
Perfect, thank you. And I guess for undergraduate audience, because they're a bit younger, it's probably more advisable to stay on campus in Canterbury and to utilize the university accommodation, just to make sure they also can make friends there, be part of some societies, and not to miss classes as well.
That is something I would absolutely recommend, unless you're living with family nearby. And, you know, by nearby, I mean any sort of commutable distance. If you want to live with family, that is absolutely a good idea. But otherwise, we would very much recommend going into university accommodation. And we have an excellent variety of accommodations from a variety of costs, a variety of different qualities, you know, right from your sort of traditional student accommodation sort of thing, right up to very fancy looking rooms with ensuite bathrooms and ensuite cooking facilities and all mod cons. So there's a lot of university accommodation that is absolutely excellent. And there's also private student accommodation right round Canterbury, because it's a big university town. There are a lot of options for very nice accommodation round and about our university.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I can see Dr. Narisa is already typing answers to a few questions as well. So thank you for that. That's helpful. Just to highlight here too, just in case if it's useful for the rest of the audience, if you did study Masters in Law in your home country, I can see Dr. Narisa, you already answered this question, you could still be considered for LLM at CCCU or another, I guess, program within City Law School, but you will just need to ensure you obviously justify this within your personal statement, highlight how this will help to enhance your career, what your future plans are, because we want to make sure that you don't have any issues with your visa also. But to answer your question, yes, you can be considered, so you can apply. I can see some of the questions are related to your region specifically, so I'm not going to go into too many details here, but you can always reach out to either my team on the ground to clarify any specific cases you may have, or double check the university website. We are still finalizing some of the entry criteria for a few regions. So once that's finalized, we will be sharing with our partners on the ground, and we will go from there. If you do have some intricate cases, though, do feel free to reach out to our team or submit the application via GAS Gateway. Provide maximum documents you could possibly provide, and we will look into your case from there. If you have received unconditional offer letter, you are welcome to start booking your pre-CAS interview with the university. The portal is already open to do so, but do let us know in case of any technical issues at all. I can see the question in regards with CAS payment. So the minimum deposit for undergraduate or postgraduate is £5,000 to secure your place and to be able to apply for your CAS letter. For international standalone foundation, that would be a full tuition fee, so that's £14,000 after the scholarship. But for the rest of the programs, it's only £5,000. If you're applying for pre-sessional, you would need to cover pre-sessional tuition fees in full, Richard, right? To be able to secure your CAS. The first CAS would be for pre-sessional program only. Once you have arrived in the UK, completed your pre-sessional, then you can extend your visa for your main program, where obviously you will then be paying your deposit towards your main course. But is there anything else you would like to add on that, Richard?
I think you've answered that perfectly, Dagina. The cost of the 10-week pre-sessional is 3,700, and the cost of the 6-week is 2,200.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's helpful. Are there any exams? Oops, that's disappeared. Are there any exams a bachelor students need to take before going into practice? Matthew, would you like to take that?
In law, yes. So again, so in the UK system or in the English system, you do your law degree, and then you have to go on to either bar school to do the BTC, or you have to go and do something called the SQE in order to practice. So they are the professional qualifications to allow you to go and practice, and they are provided by other providers that are more specialized in those areas. So law degree gives you the knowledge that you need to go, the fundamental legal knowledge, and then they go on, then the professional providers then give you the practical skills to go and then practice. And that's a similar in many systems. So for in the US, you go and do your degree, and then you go and do your JD or whatever they call it over there. All systems tend to require you to have both a degree and then to go on and do some professional qualification in order to then go and practice. So the UK is not unique to that.
Thank you. Is there anything else to add on that, Dr. Sarah, for your undergraduate programs, or is it similar?
Our undergraduate programs are non-vocational. So there's no, you wouldn't go into practice, so to speak. We have politics and international relations. What we do have a lot of students who go on to, we have a lot of students who go into the civil service. We have a lot of students who apply for that, but we are not a qualifying degree of any sort. We offer, students training in critical thinking, in understanding political systems and understanding political events around the world. So students after that might go into journalism, the civil service, research jobs with politicians in all different areas of the world. But there is no need to do a follow-up degree from politics and international relations. A lot of students will go straight into a job from our degree programme.
Perfect, thank you. I think you've answered the next question about the route for employability. Excellent. Okay, is it compulsory experience before practicing?
So that is to just pick up on what Matthew was saying. If you want to become a barrister, solicitor, or an attorney at law in any legal system, you do have a compulsory period of practice, because you have to remember you are taking people's money and their life and liberty and their cash is at stake. So in the first 3 years of your life, you understand the components of the law, but in your vocational studies, you are learning ethics, because you're learning ethics, you're learning how to take things through the court system and so on. And their fiduciary, that is extra duties on you, because like I said, people's life and their money is at stake. So you have to go through a very intense period of training, and you do have mandatory experience, and then somebody has to sign off on you that you are fit and proper to enter the world of work.
Perfect, thank you. That's helpful. If a student pays £5,000 initial deposit, would they need to pay remaining of the tuition fees at the time of enrollment? Yes, good question, Hassan. So the initial deposit payment is £5,000 to secure your place and to secure your CAS letter. You would need to demonstrate your outstanding tuition fees for the first year of your tuition on your bank account in order to apply for your CAS and to apply for your student visa. You would then need to cover at least half of your outstanding tuition fees for the first year prior to enrollment. This is really important because you wouldn't be able to enroll without covering that amount. So if you pay, just to give you an example, let's say tuition fees is £14,000 after scholarship. So you will pay £5,000 to secure your CAS letter, then you have remaining £9,000 split it into two. So 4,500 would need to be paid in addition to your deposit payment prior to enrollment. So ultimately you will be paying 9,500, is my math correct? 9,500 before your enrollment, or you're welcome to pay in full, so you don't need to worry about further math and further outstanding tuition fees, and you can just concentrate on your studies. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. I think we've covered all the questions here, but we will be sharing recording in case if you missed anything, and we will be sharing some useful links also. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to my team on the ground or your educational advisor if you're a student. If you are a student coming to study at Canterbury Christ Church University in September, which we're hoping you are, we can't wait to welcome you. If you are our partner, we can't wait to receive more applications and outstanding documents via GAS Gateway portal soon. Stay tuned. We have webinars pretty much every week. Thank you to helpful Richard for arranging those for us. And thank you so much once again to all the presenters. Really, really great webinar. And thank you to Richard, and thank you to Anand for your help with this webinar. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.